This thing on? What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Good morning. Lots to talk about today. So first, we'll just get right to it. I got some questions that came through via email. In fact, I get between 5 and 10 questions a day. Those of you that email me questions, I apologize. The math overwhelms me in addition to administrative stuff and business stuff that I can't just get to every question. But I figured I would add some of those questions on the live stream and get to them the best I can. So as we filter people in here, I've got some questions that were sent to me via email that I'd like to quickly address. Number one, browser, click. Number one, Marcus sent me an email, a guy named Marcus, saying, Ryan, I've been trying to work on my delts and shoulders, and I just can't seem to get that 3D look. I need any advice. Yes. I prepared for you guys one image. This is the image here. That's essentially what my physique looks like now. There's another image that's like pretty 3D delt-like. Because I focus a lot on delts. I focus probably too much on delts. Wow. Look at the size of that fucking picture, bro. Holy. Like that. So this is what this guy is really looking for, having that rounded delt look, okay? This was probably after a pump, so my delts are still rounded and nice, but very significantly big in this picture here. So to answer that question, I think there's a couple things that you've got to focus on. Number one, when you go to the gym, like, I don't know how people work their sets and how they focus their energy on like particular muscle groups, but like when I do delts, I don't do anything else. Like I might squeeze in a couple fucking leg presses or maybe some squats or whatever. I try to do legs like, you know, every day to an extent. I just go and get a couple sets in or whatever, and then some days strictly legs. But when I'm training delts, I'm grabbing fucking 40-pound dumbbells and I am doing, you know, side raises, whatever the fuck you call that, flies, whatever they are. God, what's that YouTuber's name? Joe Aesthetics, right? He showed me, or like fucking had on a video, like this way that no one's ever really talked about on how to work delts, which is you take a dumbbell and you kind of raise it above you and you push your delt forward, you push your arm forward, and then just kind of, you're just doing this. It's not like an overhead arm press because that's all the way back here. Working the delt, you can work strictly the delt by taking a dumbbell and pushing your arm forward and then kind of doing this. So I will sit there and do, you know, these flies and do that kind of upward lateral movement on my delts. And I will just push until absolute fucking muscle failure. I am huffing and puffing. I am out of breath. I look like I'm in agony. Like my shit will hurt. That is how you get round delts, right? You've got to really focus on the delts for the duration of your gym period. Today I was at the gym and I worked delts and I was there for a total of 40 minutes. Okay. You know, doing these and then doing this joint. And then, what the fuck else did I do? Well, I did a little bit of leg training, but I do that kind of every day. That's how you work delts. Otherwise, if you don't give exclusive focus to delts and like work to muscle failure, like Clark Kent style, no pain, no gain, it really is true. You have to be in pain in order to get that 3D look on your delts. Okay. The reason this is so important is because women, first of all, your shape, you know, looking at your shape, having that rounded delt look really, really kind of, you know, solidifies your shape, right? It is the best way to have what is a good manly shape, but also a very attractive shape to women, right? Is having delts. So that'd be my suggestion, Marcus, if you're watching, I hope you are, is to focus for 40 minutes on not as heavy as you can go, because you want to be able to do enough reps, on getting 15 to 20 reps, but still heavy weights each time, you know, within each set of like these with a dumbbell, you know, and then that front lateral movement with a dumbbell. Okay. And just do that until fucking muscle failure. And eventually you're going to get the round delts. That'd be my suggestion. And that is how I do it. Now, look, I'm not on a steroid cycle. I'm on a pretty modest dose of TRT with some HCG. So I'm not even half as big as I could look. But considering the constraints of my protocol in that I'm not on AAS, that's what I would do. Second question came through via email. We'll get to your guys' questions here in a second. Line them up, guys. Line them up because I'll go and answer them. Comes from Eddie, and someone else in the comments here a couple days ago asked the same question. Eddie asked, Ryan, have you had any long-term gains from using a 9-MBC? This is a difficult one, right? Because each time I run a 9-MBC protocol, the gains, in terms of being motivated to do things or just like generally excited about life are very prominent. Okay. So I do get them while on cycle of 9-MeBC. However, there is a carryover effect so long as the rest of my life is good. Like my protocols with diet, TRT, etc. are good. And there's nothing inhibiting dopamine firing, like estradiol will inhibit dopamine firing to an extent. When it's past a certain range, then yes, the gains from 9-MeBC seem to last a couple months. It's really hard to say because then it just tapers into my usual motivated state, which is pretty good anyway, right? So the thing that I think, you're really looking to do with 9-MeBC is it's not just about that acute zest for life gain. The gain that you're looking for ultimately is restoring the dopaminergic system. Okay, so was libido very terrible? Were you generally not interested in life? Like if and did you have a downed system from Adderall abuse or, otherwise dopaminergic drug abuse or some sort of drug abuse, right? So in those cases, when dopamine is down, those are the kind of gains you're looking to have, which I have all the time, right? Because I, have had dopaminergic dysfunction in the past, but have since fixed it. So the answer to that question really is yes, but especially for people that are targeting long-term dopamine restoration with 9-MeBC, then almost definitely you're going to have gains if the issue is really significant, right? Because that's a Parkinson's drug that is used to restore dopamine pathways in people that have Parkinson's. Next question before we get to your guys' questions. These are questions that came through via email is, Ryan, what is the best way to address erectile dysfunction on TRT? Cialis or P-shot? Okay, look, P-shot's pretty effective. I mean, I think you're like injecting, you're like recruiting stem cells. You're getting some sort of like mild stem cell therapy, which is great. That's probably going to enhance erectile function. It is substantially expensive and may not be the best route. On TRT though, like, listen, the number one contributor to erectile dysfunction on TRT is simply high estrogen. That's it. I mean, prolactin will do it too. Prolactin will completely fucking kill your dick and your libido. But like the primary driver of erectile difficulty on TRT is estrogen. That's it. I mean, that's just it. I've already been through all of the research, which shows us about 32 picograms per milliliter is the cutoff point, after which you're more susceptible to get ED. Not everybody will. People seem to tolerate it well, and maybe they just got a great vasculature in their junk. Like that matters too. Great vascular system. That may make you more, I guess a little more resilient in the presence of elevated estradiol. But generally speaking, estradiol, even if you're super healthy past a certain range, and that range is going to be different, but really the cutoff is right around 32. It could be 40 for you. Of estradiol, that's going to cause ED. So you really got to fucking look at that. If you do have to take your TRT dose down because you can't dial an AI in, which, I understand because it's difficult. Take it down to like 110 a week, get 1,000 IU HCG once a week in there and probably 25 milligrams of zinc in addition. So for the extra estrogen control, and almost definitely you're going to get erectile quality back. But in addition to that, yes, 10 milligrams Cialis a day is better than 5, usually healthy for most people. And also because this question brought out the Phoenix, right? The Phoenix is a shockwave therapy device, okay? You use this to effectively somewhat damage tissue to induce this process called neovascularization. I might be getting that wrong, where you're essentially building new blood vessels in the penis, right? That is this cost me like $1,000 or something. So, it's an expensive tool. It's actual shockwave therapy for the junk. And yes, I use it and it fucking gives me firmer erections. I do boner maintenance. So my shit's like really fucking strong. Prior to doing those things, it wasn't as strong. And prior to, always landing on the right estradiol point for me with TRT wasn't strong. When my estradiol's high, I do not have great erections. Okay. Those are the primary things you want to look at on TRT. Estradiol, run 10 milligrams tadalafil a day, get something like the Phoenix or equivalent, run the P-shot. I think that's fine. Do cardio. That's the best way to address it. People want to think that they've got, venous occlusive disorder and venous leakage and stuff on TRT. You almost definitely do not, right? You're looking at being, you'd have to be a 57 or 67-year-old man with, vascular disorders, like real cardiac issues and blood vessel narrowing and all this kind of shit to have vascular ED. You likely don't, and you need to get your estradiol straight. It needs to stay there, boys. Can't preach that enough. I'm going to have Dave Lee on the podcast. For those of you that don't know who Dave Lee is, he's guy from Australia that talks a lot, almost exclusively about TRT. He became popular on the TRT and hormone optimization channel, which the guys there say a lot of things I don't agree with regarding estradiol, but Dave is more in the middle, and he talks about ways to optimize physiology so that your TRT experience is much better, especially relevant to estradiol. So we're going to be talking about that coming soon. All right, those are the questions I got that came through via email. Hope that's been useful. And let's get into your guys' questions. Rod Farva. Hold on, Rod. Just give me a second, Rod. I got a little technical thing going on that I've got to address. Okay. Rod Farva says, what is your Hail Mary all-risk protocol for restoring libido and orgasm quality? Have you tried TRT? Okay. I've tried TRT, HCG, 9-MeO-BC, cerebrolysin, pro hormones. Willing to risk it all. Libido and orgasm quality. Okay. So I assume erectile function is fine. Okay. Look, when you say you've tried TRT, TRT in and of itself is not just going to inherently give you libido orgasm quality. It's a fine balance, okay? You can be on TRT and have PSSD-like symptoms. 100% happens, right? And that's because people have shitty protocols. Because ultimately, PSSD and all sexual dysfunction is a neuroendocrine disorder, largely an endocrine disorder. In order to have adequate libido and orgasm quality, I don't know what your protocol was, but like you need to be either on a low enough dose or like where you get therapeutic testosterone levels, 700, 800, 900, but where estradiol falls in range, plus some HCG, and hopefully maybe taking some zinc or calcium D-glucarate to keep the estradiol in a reasonable range. Or you need to be on a higher dose of TRT, 150 to 200, with, a hefty enough dose at a time, a bolus injection at a time of HCG. That's really the only kind of doses that matter, by the way, in terms of serum HCG quantity. You're not doing shit microdosing HCG. I've already proven that. But in that case, using an AI, like that's just it. You're going to lose orgasm quality and libido the higher estradiol goes. Estradiol can creep up to 40 and libido is going to be like pretty good. Like there's a cutoff there, but then once it gets past that or whatever range for you, 40, 50, libido is going to turn to shit. But orgasm quality especially is going to be terrible. I cannot explain, what this sensation loss is in excessively elevated estradiol on TRT, other than to say that estradiol inhibits dopamine firing from the arcuate nucleus of the brain, which is pretty important for hypothalamic dopamine throughput. Okay, so if that's being inhibited by estradiol, which it absolutely is, I suggest you watch the whole breakdown on like the hypothalamus, I forget exactly the title, from Ninja Nerd, who will break down how estradiol inhibits the arcuate nucleus firing of dopamine. Okay, so that's number one. You need to keep the estradiol in range. And look, I have seen some people that they kind of need it to be at like 20, and if you're one of those people, like, you ought to go look at, what's the doctor's name? Rand McClain, who runs a TRT clinic, basically a men's health clinic in California, who keeps his guys between 18 and 25 picograms per milliliter all of the time in terms of estradiol. And they have no problems, right? Seemingly. We're assuming that he's trustworthy and honest, etc., right? So, you might just be one of those guys. Keeping estradiol in range on TRT is very, very difficult, right? The AIs drop it too quick, unless you're microdosing, which is what you need to do in most cases, 0.06, 0.09 milligrams in estradiol, maybe 0.125, maybe 0.25 once a week. It really depends on you. If you can get the estradiol in range and keep it there that way, you're golden. You keep it in a 10-point range from 18 to 28, and you're going to be fucking golden, right? If you can keep it there. That may take time to resolve over time, you staying in that right hormonal place, and for hormone receptors to modulate, neurotransmitter receptors to modulate. People forget that when you change a TRT protocol, when you modify it, like the neuroendocrine system, specifically in terms of hormone receptors and neurotransmitter receptors, they have to modify, they have to change in response to that. And that takes weeks, right? That's why people say 4 to 6 weeks. It's really less about the half-life, although that does contribute, but more about the neurotransmitter and hormone receptors. Okay, so you got to keep that in mind. 9-MeO-BC would be helpful for libido and orgasm quality because dopamine is very critical. If you knock out dopamine somehow, which you can do so by raising prolactin or antagonizing D2 receptors, your orgasm quality is going to be shitty. Also, though, What is your HCG dose? All right. This is very, very important. You need to be dosing minimally 500 IU at a time in order to get the maximized benefits from HCG. Okay. I inject an entire 1,000 IU of HCG at a time. I'm running that now every third or fourth day. It really depends on how I feel. That also will raise estradiol, so you got to be careful and manage your protocol otherwise in order to be able to get that dose in. But if you're, running 200 IU a day, you're not doing shit. If you're running 150 IU a day, you're really not doing shit with HCG, okay? Cerebral lysine, will affect erectile function and libido if you've got neurogenic ED. Definitely, right? Via restoration of neurotrophic factors that, contribute to erectile function, but it might not fix your problem if it's strictly hormonal, which it almost always is. Even if you're on TRT, you can still have issues with this if estradiol is high and the dose isn't right. Lastly, I've seen people who, no matter what they do, like in this case, they just have to lower their dose into oblivion, which I really feel sorry for those guys, into like 90 milligrams a week, no HCG. And then estradiol falls into reasonable range. And somehow, even though that they were at 1,000 before and estradiol was at 25 because they were controlling with an AI and they still didn't have libido, somehow being at 650 and 25, everything fucking comes back, right? So this could be their natural state of testosterone prior to TRT was they never got above 700. And that's just where they need to be. Sorcery, boys, sorcery. So those would be my suggestions. Rod is also saying I should note that I've had PSST now for 2.5 years. Yeah, you have a neuroendocrine problem that you've got to resolve with steady state androgens and estradiol in range, as well as you must, in this case, be on HCG. Yep, run 10 milligrams tadalafil a day. That'll help with erection quality. But ultimately, yeah, I don't know what your cycles on 9-MBC were, but for that, I'd be running 50 days of 50 milligrams. Cerebral lysine, I'd be running 2 milliliters a day for 21 days. And I would run those cycles, take a couple weeks off or a month off, keep running those cycles. Make sure your test is therapeutic. Make sure the E2 is fucking in range. All right? None of this Reddit bro science bullshit. This is, we're never going there. Okay? Sunshine Flower 76 does not have your best interest in heart. He's repeating shit he heard from fucking Neil Rougier or whatever his name is, who's an idiot. Idiot, or Jay Campbell, idiot, or Danny Bossa, idiot, guys. Okay. They had issues with AIs and they swore off managing estrogen. Yeah. AIs are shitty drugs to take. You got to dose them very carefully. Hope that helps, brother. MV, how would you go about raising dopamine to feel motivated for tedious work? First of all, there's only a certain level of happiness that you can achieve in doing shit you hate. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, just work on dopamine via using 9-MeBC in cycles of 20 to 30 days with a 2 to 3 week break in between. Okay. That would be my suggestion. So either way, you're going to not be interested in stuff you hate. So you have to, I'm not as optimized as I am. There's stuff that I do not like doing. I strongly dislike doing, anything regarding crunching numbers or tax work or QuickBooks stuff. I fucking hate it, but so I outsource it most of the time and then I got to do it other times. And I just very much dislike it. And there's no amount of stuff that I can do to really change that. Hope that helps. Thoughts on BDNF causing hair loss? Don't know a whole lot about it. I have heard it before, never substantiated in any piece of scientific literature. Not saying it doesn't exist, but if you've heard that on the web, it means nothing. You have to go substantiate it with a paper somewhere. Everything you hear, bros, you got to substantiate with a paper. What did I hear recently? Oh, on my zinc video, people were saying, zinc causes a copper deficiency. I heard. Maybe. Validate that in the literature or it doesn't fucking exist. Just some guy says, any nootropic recommendations for ADHD individual using Adderall? Yes. Uridine, citicoline, and artichoke extract together. Neurotransmitter for self-confidence. God, it's dopamine, it's serotonin not being high, it's acetylcholine being pretty functional, it's GABA being able to inhibit excessive glutamate. Those are the primary neurotransmitters, but it's also hormone effects on neurotransmitter quantity and receptor sites, particularly testosterone. Jammer with the $5 super chat is saying, hey, I'm running 200 milligrams testosterone a week, and I want to bring in HCG That's 750 IU every 3 days. Okay. Would you back off on the test to 150 or well this or yeah. Okay. So the crux of the issue or the question is bringing HCG in, which is going to make you aromatize more of your testosterone estradiol in the testicles in a way which is somewhat resistant to taking Arimidex or Aromacin. Like, do you have to then change your TRT dose, lower it so that you aromatize less? Ideally, yes. This all depends on how much you aromatize. So probably, like if you're aromatizing a lot on 200, probably I would lower that. Yeah. If you feel really great on 200, then I wouldn't lower it a whole lot, but I'd take it to like 150. I mean, 150 seems good. 750 IU every 3 days, so you'd be running essentially 1,500 a week. Basically, so I think that that's adequate, and that's an adequate dose per injection to get you what you want, via like all the testicular function, neurosteroids, like all that stuff, semen quality, load size. So I think that that's good. You might want to control estradiol a little better, keep the HCG dose the same, just change the frequency to every 4th day. Every 4th day is a real good sweet spot, right? Because then, on that 3rd day, the serum HCG starts to go down, which is a good thing because also estradiol will stop raising and will start to go down. Ultimately, you're going to have to see, but you're on the right track and knowing that, like, or at least thinking that you have got to lower your TRT dose for HCG. Definitely. I mean, when I made the change to 1,000 IU HCG every 3rd or 4th day, I did aromatize more, right? So I had to bring in other compounds, like we recently discussed, bringing zinc in order to keep that under control. Now, look, there's a lot of other natural aromatase inhibitors that you can use in the meantime, as well as optimizing the hell out of your diet. Great question. You probably need to lower the dose. Definitely. Once you run estradiol at week 3 or 4, and it's still too high, look, take that TRT dose down. When you guys are scared to go like low TRT dose and high HCG because they're going, oh, this is low TRT dose. Dude, if you're at 100 milligrams a week and you're running 1,000 IU HCG every 3rd day, you're still going to get them gym gains, bro. I mean, you're still going to have some pretty high testosterone, even at a minimal 100 milligrams a week. That HCG is making you, remember, it's making you make more testosterone, and it's more your own natural testosterone. It's pretty insane. I definitely noticed more mass, like just easier to put mass on when I upped the HCG dose. Just some guys saying, speaking of Dave Lee, do you have any thoughts on his opinion regarding megadose of melatonin? Yeah, I have heard him talk about that. Melatonin has a lot of really interesting properties to it, not the least of which this is a powerful antioxidant. Me personally, I can't tolerate any more than 15 milligrams melatonin. I get extremely groggy in the morning. Maybe I'm not metabolizing it. Maybe I'm metabolizing it very slow. I've tried that. I've tried taking it earlier to try to see if that was the case, and I still didn't really feel good the next day. 3 to 6 milligram dose of melatonin is really perfect for me. It's all going to depend on the person. Look, I think in addition, though, to the benefits in terms of reactive oxygen species, melatonin in a couple papers is a very, very heavy aromatase inhibitor. You might want to Google that. Now, like the situation was, I believe, in some cell line, so it's removed from the human body and it's a little different, but you probably get some aromatization, albeit for a temporary period in a short half-life using melatonin. So there's benefits to it. Regarding 50 milligrams a day, it's going to depend on the person, man. I'm going to have Dave Lee on the channel, I think on the 9th of May, and we're going to do a fucking hour and a half long podcast. So I will ask him about that, and we will break that down. I would use aniracetam for social anxiety. Jordan G Unit with the $10 super chat is saying, thoughts on how long HCG stays potent? Such a good question. They gave me a bottle that I mix with backwater, lasts a couple months, but I swear it drops potency. Yep. You're right. It does. Okay, look, even who makes Pregnal? I think Pfizer. I don't know. I think it's Pfizer. But if it's someone else, my apologies. Pregnal, which is supposed to last 60 days, at best, lasts 35 at best. Like full potency. And it's probably losing potency at day 30. These companies that say that their HCG stays potent at 100% for like some long time frame. I don't know. I don't know if they're using best case scenario that you freeze it, or they're just, we're just fudging the truth a little bit, but no question, it goes bad. It goes bad. It does. How I manage that is I get good quality pharmaceutical grade, but UGL HCG mostly. It's 5 KIU. It's 5 KIU vials, so I'm reconstituting that with, I think, 2 milliliters of backwater. And so I think 1 whole milliliter, in an insulin syringe ends up being like 2,500 IU. I forget. But, after each injection of HCG, I put it in the fucking freezer. I put it in the freezer, right? And I'm using insulin syringes only, even to reconstitute, even though it takes longer, so that I'm not poking big holes in it. You're poking, the more big holes you're poking in it, the more it's going to denature. Because it's just these big holes that's being exposed to oxygen, in the air. And you don't want that. So, yes, it definitely goes bad. The best you can do is get 5 KIU at a time, run that over the course of 3 weeks to a month, however long, depending on your dose, and then freeze it after each injection and only use insulin syringes. Oh yeah. Powerade, by the way. Whew. Sometimes water doesn't hydrate you, boys, because it doesn't have electrolytes. Powerade, though, does. I've been doing a lot of exercise recently. Hope that helps. My process is putting it in the freezer after injection and only using insulin syringes, because despite what people are saying, despite what Pfizer says, or the manufacturers of Pregnol and whatever other HCG you're going to get, it denatures quick. 3 to 4 weeks. Ariel, do you know of any nootropics or peptides that can alleviate generalized inflammation in the body? I mean, so many of them. BPC 157 would almost definitely help. Curcumin as a standalone is going to definitely help. If you can get curcumin powder and just weigh out a couple 100 milligrams or something and throw it down, you're going to have a good time with inflammation. High dose krill oil is going to help generalized inflammation. 9-MEBC turns down inflammatory cytokines. Schisandra turns down inflammatory cytokines, right? God, what's that stuff called? Saffron. Saffron heavily downregulates a pro-inflammatory cytokine that ends up wreaking havoc on brain function called TNF alpha. So maybe look into taking some saffron. MV is saying, I took bromontane and either had no effect or made me a bit sleepy. Tried it with tyrosine non-responder. Was it bunk? Likely not bunk. It's just interacting with your brain chemistry in a way which is causing this effect. And I don't know what's up with your brain chemistry, right? Is there a serotonergic drug? Has there been dopaminergic drugs? Are there other drugs in the system? Do you drink alcohol? Do you smoke pot? So cigarettes won't really do a whole lot regarding that system, except for bind to choline receptors. But yeah, that's potential. I also don't know what your dose is. You might have to go high. You might do better at a very low dose of bromontane. Usually, if you're getting it from adequate, like reasonable places, it's not bunk. Next to nothing is bunk, by the way. It's just, you're dosing it wrong. It's interacting with your physiology in some negative way or something. I haven't substantiated this, but it's possible it's making you synthesize more serotonin. Bromontane could be. Like it might choose that pathway, and so we look into that. But that's an odd one because the literature on that's pretty clear that bromontane enhances the effects of all dopaminergics. I think they were using methamphetamine in that study. Sam, modafinil 100 to 200 doesn't work. Not getting the same push I get from low dose Adderall. What are the things I can add to modafinil since I have them? I would add like 200 milligrams of teacrine. That's what I would do. 200 milligrams of teacrine. I don't suggest 9-MEBC for a daily nootropic, but you could use it for the monoamine oxidase inhibition properties, which would get you that extra energy, 20 to 30 milligrams. Alternatively, use Subroxy, because Subroxy is a very powerful monoamine oxidase inhibitor. So it'll keep some elevated neurotransmitters for a certain period, which probably give you that extra edge. But, look, Adderall's a very fucking powerful dopaminergic drug. And modafinil's dopamine transporter inhibition properties aren't as strong as Adderall's. Joe Isaac is saying, brother, is Schisandra similar to 9-MEBC or cerebrolysine in terms of dopaminergic system? No. Nope, not as powerful. Powerful enough, though. Powerful enough to keep prolactin inhibited, which is telling us pretty clearly there's a dopaminergic mechanism. But, I mean, it works on prolactin through, like, other stuff. Like, I forget exactly the mechanism of action, but it's It's like interfering with prolactin signaling on lactotropes in the pituitary. No, not as strong as cerebral lysin. No, you got to think of these things in different ways. Cerebral lysin is, collection of neurotrophic factor from a pig's brain, which engages in large scale brain restoration, particularly of blood vessels and blood functioning, but also neurotransmitter systems. 9-ABC is primarily restoration of dopamine neurons and the genetic activity which makes you make dopamine. And Schisandra is a compound that's somewhat comparable to Cialis in terms of inducing erectile function, erectile response. Not as strong as Cialis though, but that also predominantly lowers prolactin, right? And is dopaminergic, but not to the extent 9-ABC is. So different classes of compounds here, You got the fucking BMW over here, then over down here, maybe you got the Mazda. Down there, you got the old school Chevy, all right? Something like that. You understand? Thanks. Manuel, would taking a complete B vitamin complex along with solo supplements of P5P and methyl B12 and B6 being ingested, would taking, I'm not sure what your question is. I don't know how you phrase that where there's no question. Yeah, you phrase that all weird, dude. Dar Fitness, what are your thoughts on ZMA's effect on testosterone? Mineral balancing is important. Your video on zinc, I was informative. Awesome. Sometimes after ZMA, I wake up with a hard EQ. I could hammer nails. Absolutely. Yeah, man. I mean, zinc has all kinds of weird properties. Like it seems to control overages of hormones, particularly estradiol. It makes the SHBG have less affinity for estradiol, so less travel to tissues of estradiol, which is good. It can increase intratesticular synthesis of testosterone as well. So that's probably what you're getting there. Now, like also, I think ZMA has magnesium in it, right? If I'm not mistaken. And magnesium helps relax smooth muscle tissue, which is going to help you have better erections. Your magnesium is an erection quality enhancing compound, assuming all other things are good. Based is trying to market here. Don't do that. H got scammed. Swiss Chem's 9-ABC turned out to be heavily underdosed. How do you know? How do you know? How do you know? Maybe it was your response to it. Most things are not underdosed, despite people's conspiratorial views on things. It's just your response to it. Almost, next to nothing is underdosed. Unless you're getting like UGL, shitty, whatever. H, what is the best for studying in terms of increasing dopamine? God, you're honestly looking at modafinil. I mean, Adderall doesn't increase dopamine. It increases dopamine in the extracellular space, but it ultimately depletes dopamine from reserves of dopamine in the VTA. So that's why it's a terrible drug. It gives people anhedonia eventually, sexual dysfunction. So modafinil will be one of your next best shots. Bromantine, if you respond well to it, will be pretty potently dopaminergic. You're better off stacking bromantine with another dopaminergic compound like teacrine. That'd be a great example. I would not take Adderall. It's going to come with too many sides eventually. Okay, what's up? How are you? Hope you're great. Any supplements or herbs that boost free testosterone or lower SHBG? Yeah, boron will lower SHBG, I believe, and boost free testosterone. Thoughts on the hub? What hub? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Brother. But I think you were the one marketing before. Don't come on the live stream and market your stuff. That is awkward. And I usually don't check Instagram. I'm not a big Instagram person. Any other questions, guys? If you got them, ask them. Again, one of the first questions that came through via email that I was, like I'm going to start addressing now is how do you get 3D delts? For me, where's that image? Okay. That's pretty much my physique now. I'm like close to summer shape. I'm certainly over in calories because I am trying to put on some muscle right now, but my delts, I give a lot of attention to these delts, man. A lot of attention. I'm spending more time working on delts than anything. And the answer to how do you get, good 3D delts is you have to really fucking focus on delts while you're at the gym. These joints, the side flies with a dumbbell, and then again, this front lateral dumbbell upward press, not an overhead press. you're like you're pushing it to the front, holding the dumbbell, and doing that until complete fucking failure. That's how you get the round delts. That was an interesting question because today I did delts and I'm focusing on delts. That's that shape, that kind of V thing is what women really like. And it also makes you look, formidable as well as admirable to other men. Not that that's like your goal, but you kind of want to be making sure that guys know you're nothing to mess with. So another negative testimony about Swiss chems, maybe just a warning to folks. Open the capsules and they taste exactly the same. Weird. It's rare. It's rare. I got to tell you guys, it's rare that a company is out there scamming you like that. You got to make sure that you're right about that before posting things about it. You got to make sure because it could be your response to it. It almost definitely always is. Is watching Pornhub. I think we all know what this guy means. Bad for T. No. Nope. Watching porn does nothing to testosterone. Nope. Porn isn't bad for the system at all. It only becomes bad if you're excessively masturbating and excessively releasing prolactin. People that think NoFap is the savior, it isn't. It actually does nothing because and they go like, oh, I'm not watching porn and suddenly everything's better. Cool. Of course it's better because when you watch porn, you masturbate and you release prolactin. And prolactin inhibits testosterone synthesis, right? So if you're constantly doing that every day, you're increasing prolactin. You know how much? 10 to 15 nanograms per milliliter. Okay. So a consistent 10 to 15 nanograms per milliliter elevation in prolactin, you know what that's going to do? Inhibit gonadotropins. And gonadotropin inhibition is going to cause less testosterone synthesis in the testicles. So you're going to have sexual dysfunction as a result of testosterone going down or being inhibited. That is why NoFap works, boys. Okay. That is it. There's no neurological mechanism by which, not watching porn is doing anything. It's never been proven that watching porn is going to do anything to dopamine receptors. You need hardcore dopamine agonists in order to do anything in terms of downregulation to dopamine receptors. So what's bad about porn and why NoFap works is because you stop fucking climaxing every day or twice a day. And then you don't have that prolactin release. It's all about prolactin. I've never really seen magnesium glycinate be anhedonic, so couldn't really help you there. J Park, have I ever tried topical DHT? No. Closest I've gotten, I wonder how that would impact HPTA. Probably still shut it down. Aromatization, less. Closest I've got was testosterone cream, and boy, did it raise DHT. I showed you guys labs on a couple live streams ago. Do I have those labs still? Yeah, it's going to take me a while to get it. My DHT was like I think it was 168, far above range. So it's almost similar, right? Or somewhat comparable to topical DHT. And yeah, my fucking dick would not go down on that, but it came with, the cream, it's very, very potently stimulatory. It's very, very stimulatory. And it's really hard to dial in the dose. You will aromatize less though on it. Some people cream's perfect. Some people cream is perfect. I'm not going to shit on it because some people have a really good experience with test cream. I have it, I use it. Maybe I'll throw a pump on here and there before the gym kind of thing, but it's not my TRT. In fact, I'm probably going to start testosterone enanthate soon because the PIP on prop is really just a pain in the butt. It's getting better, but it's still a pain. Aaron, thoughts on ketogenic diet? Is it sustainable long-term or what causes nutritional deficiencies? To answer your first question, no, it is not sustainable long-term. No. Basic human cellular biology will tell you that the most optimal way to fuel cells was with glucose. That's just the bottom line. Now, not saying keto can't alleviate insulin and blood sugar dysregulation, because it can. Not saying keto can't make you lose weight, because it can, usually because you're under in calories. You're in a deficit. That's why keto does that, not by any other sorcery or magic, like Rob Wolf will have you think. And long term, you are going to kill your thyroid hormones. Okay. Long term, you're going to dysregulate sodium aldosterone balance. You're going to require high amounts of sodium to feel good. You're going to urinate fucking very frequently. and you're going to starve gram-positive gut species, and you're going to end up with all kind of digestive disorders like reflux, IBD, IBS. That runs the gamut, bro. SIBO. So nope, you don't want any of that. You don't want any of that. Keto was one of those things that got, very popularized on the web. And look, I get it. People try it and they feel good and they're starting to lose weight, and, they start promoting it and like being ambassadors for it. I understand. But in the end, long-term keto is going to fucking wreck your health. That's it. If you do no carb feeds, you're shitting on your body. You're going to have significant health problems down the line if you do it long enough. All right. Dark Fitness, have to hit the front side and rear. Most people have underdeveloped rear delts. Yeah. The chest fly machine actually works rear delts as well. So I work on them as well. But you're right. MV definitely felt 90 BBC. Join the club. Join the club. Based. How much is too much? Should I just do no fap? Relative to porn, I watch porn every now and then, usually in the presence of a woman. Because women like porn too. But I don't watch it a lot. Like I just almost look, I mean, if you have a girl that you're dating that is sexy, and you guys see each other a few times a week and have sex, there really isn't a need for porn. So that is that. Buckos. Hold on 1 second, boys. Hold on 1 second, boys. I want to show you something real quick, if I can. All right, so this I want to show you relative to having a sexy woman, so that you can have sex and not want to watch porn. This was taken at a place called the Grandview Saloon in Pittsburgh. This was me and a chick that I am dating right now, overlooking the city of Pittsburgh over dinner. This was like 2 nights ago or something. I think it was Friday night or something. I'm not sure. No. Thursday night, Wednesday night, one of these nights. But make sure you have yourself a dame so that, you're not stuck looking at porn and masturbating all the time. Okay. What other questions, boys? Adham. Hey, how to lower estradiol with OTC supplements? Yeah, zinc is one of your best bets for that. Hard to say how much it's going to affect the serum. It only moved my serum down 9 points, which is pretty good. Look, I do other things to reduce aromatization too. It moved my serum down 9 points, 35 to 26. So that's pretty good, right? I haven't checked it since, so I don't know where it's at. I'm still running it. So, but by the way, everything feels, estradiol has not gotten crazier out of range. So yeah, zinc's pretty good. Calcium D-glucarate will lower estrogen. It's just going to stop it from filtering back into your system, after, and basically metabolize it out via your liver. But that's also going to do that to androgens. So you might need to increase your testosterone dose if you're going to be on calcium D-glucarate. Those are really the best bets. There's a product that people seem to renown as like effective on Amazon called Inhibit E. It's like a collection of herbs that are supposed to be aromatase inhibitors. I haven't used it myself. I don't know. I have lowered estradiol using a compound called myomin, which is Chinese herbs that inhibit aromatase. There are a lot of natural aromatase inhibitors. What is it? Grape seed extract is a pretty powerful AI. Not nearly as powerful as Aromacin or Arimidex, but those are compounds that I would use. Treating anhedonia, far too much to answer in a comment. That would be something, if you have the budget for, you'd have to get with me on coaching. Ultimately, dopamine is the main issue, but you probably need to get all of your hormones in check too, and make sure estradiol is in range. Even if they're sitting normal is usually suboptimal, and your GP won't tell you that. What are my thoughts on SRIs long-term for depression? Could it have a negative effect on brain function, erectile quality after years? Absolutely. Yeah. I among 3 or 4 other people, like the prominent people in the country, that get clients that have PSSD. That's post-SRI sexual dysfunction. And, that's a large-scale neuroendocrine disorder, which is hard to fix and takes time, sometimes a year plus to resolve. where orgasms are muted, you have no libido, you have poor erectile quality, and even atrophy of your junk. Like you have atrophy of the muscle. It looks weak, white, bloodless, dead. Don't fucking do it. Don't fucking do it. Unless like you got to be somebody really versed in hormone modulation, really versed, in order to even touch that stuff. So you'll see other YouTubers talk about SSRIs, and they're getting neurogenesis benefits and because there are benefits to some SSRIs, but they know how to manage their DHT, their testosterone, their estradiol in a way which won't cause these issues. If you're not as advanced as them, I wouldn't touch it. Tad, I love the nightlife and go out 2 to 4 times per week. There's something I can take on an as-needed basis to replace alcohol. That would be the same effect as going out to party mode. Not really. No, not really. I mean, you could try other GABAergics like Picamillin. You could try low-dosing phenibut, like 200 to 400 milligrams or so, but nothing's really going to give you that booze-like effect because that's also triggering the release of other neurotransmitters, like dopamine. And like depending on the booze, it has all kinds of other effects, So, so the answer to that is no. I haven't drank in quite a long time. It's been like 2+ years. I literally, like, I think on a date last week, I took a sip of my date's margarita. Like that's it. Like, I got very tired of feeling suboptimal, even after 3 drinks, feeling suboptimal for 2 days. Cause I notice every little change, right? It just, I wouldn't feel myself for days. Plus, I have a family history of alcoholics. I have an ex-girlfriend who destroyed our relationship completely from being an alcoholic. I mean, she just fucking destroyed it. She destroyed something really great. I'm thankful for it now, but she destroyed something really great because of booze. So I'm very turned off by it. So now, like, I go out, I don't drink. I don't care, dude. I'm so fine getting a decaf coffee or actual coffee, whatever, a Coke sometimes. I'd rather do that than drink. So you got to figure that out. And I'm even more quick-witted, socially fluent in all these kinds of things because I'm my normal, natural self. Can't use booze as a crutch. Once you get over that, life becomes a lot better. You're the guy that doesn't have to drink. You don't have to drink. It's great. All right. Is alpha GPC, huperzine A, uridine, P5P too much for memory and learning? No, I think that should be fine. I just think that if you're going to be dosing huperzine A, you shouldn't dose GPC and CDP together. Too much choline, right? I don't know where you learned that, but probably Reddit or somewhere. Bad idea. You're going to have choline overload and you're going to have side effects from that. If you're going to dose alpha GPC or CDP choline with huperzine A, that's fine. But the choline dose has to be pretty fucking low, okay? Because then you run the risk of excess acetylcholine. The brain has a lot of kind of like homeostatic feedback things that it does to regulate acetylcholine. It's in a tight group, a tight quantity. You get too elevated, you're gonna have memory issues and problems and lethargy and brain fog. It gets too low, well, you're gonna have essentially the same thing, but just not as intense. Too high acetylcholine feels very terrible. So dose that shit carefully. General thoughts on SARMs? I don't know. Overrated. I'd rather be using anabolics or testosterone. Best gym recovery supplement besides taurine? I don't know of one that's actually effective. Like really effective. The only thing that I found to be the most, very effective is in-range estradiol. Not over range, even though over range is very good for gym recovery, but it's going to, it's terrible for your erections and libido. Generally testosterone. Yeah. I'm at the gym 7 days a week. And now that it's spring and summer, I'm walking 3 to 5 miles a day, 3 to 5 miles a day, heavy workout every day of the week. I feel great. Maybe a couple sore spots here and there. Otherwise I'm great. Don't know a whole lot about this. Skincare. TK is asking, do I have a skincare regimen? Nope, nothing at all. But thank you. Really appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean, I just look younger because I accidentally shaved my beard because I had the trimmer on the wrong extension and I cut out a whole big chunk right here. And then I'm like, fuck, I have to shave the beard. But now that it's like heavy scruff, I don't know, the girls like it. I like it. So, whatever. I'll just keep it like this. I don't know if I'll go back to that big giant beard again because I'm really kind of digging this. It's spring and summer, the beard actually does get heavy. It's heavy, you sweat more kind of thing. So, no, I don't do anything. I eat a lot of vegetables. I mean, that's kind of it. A lot of cardio, dude. My blood flow is good. I think it should from everything I'm doing, you know. I'm not on, I'm not on a constant super physiologic peak of androgens and estradiol, like, cause I'm on prop. So it's dropping. I think that matters a lot for blood flow. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, cardio. Eat real food. Most everything that I eat is real food, with the exception of like a bowl of cereal, which is kind of a frankenfood. Otherwise, it's all real food, man. I'm just eating healthy. Very boring. My diet's very boring. Once every 2 weeks, I have to go eat like an asshole just so that, I kind of get some variety. I'm like, all right, my diet isn't too boring. I can go eat a burger and some fries one day. But largely, you got to eat real food. You got to be healthy, man. And I don't drink. I don't like if I was drinking 3 or 4 shots of tequila every night, or 3 or 4 glasses, or 5 beers or whatever, then, I wouldn't look like I look. If I wasn't sleeping 7 straight hours a night with maybe a pee break, maybe not, I wouldn't look like I look. If my nutrients, like vitamins, minerals, weren't all like in pretty good ranges, I don't know that I'd look the way I look. So everything matters. Okay. Yeah. Is saying that his urologist prescribed Clomid as TRT, which gave me severe anxiety. I stopped, but it's been 2 weeks and I'm constantly in fight or flight. Imagine now propilenol. Yeah, see, this is really shitty. That's why Clomid's a terrible drug. So was enclomiphene, by the way. They're both terrible. They're SERMs are PCT drugs. That's it. Like, when you said use Clomid as TRT, this is language that the people from Maximus Tribe, which is a terribly dishonest and shitty company with a founder who, sent me some threatening email because we talked about the inefficacy of enclomiphene as like a testosterone raising agent. So you don't do business with those guys. They popularized like this phrase is like, enclomiphene or Clomid as TRT either. And it's not TRT. Those are SERMs. They're PCT drugs. So brother, I'm sorry that your urologist prescribed this to you. As far as the fight or flight, it's likely elevated estradiol. I don't know where your estradiol is. It's probably a combo of, constantly antagonized estrogen receptors but elevated blood estradiol. And now that the antagonism of the pituitary estrogen receptors are not happening, you're just getting flooded with estradiol. So that's going to calm down over time, almost definitely. If I were you, I would jump on TRT and I would start taking an AI to keep the estradiol between 20 and 30, or have a low enough dose of testosterone that you can dose like 25 to 50 milligrams of zinc and you would be better. Thoughts on pumps for increasing D size? MTMD seems to be a believer in it. Pumps. Oh, penis pumps. Yeah. I think that I've read a lot about it and I actually got one a while ago to see how much of an impact on erectile function and firmness does it make? You're oxygenating the tissues and putting a lot of blood flow in the tissues, like superficially, and it stays there for 10 to 15 minutes. I don't really advise doing it longer than that. And you start developing edema in the penile tissue, and that is going to make you look like you have Peyronie's or something. So that's not good. But people do seem to, in the subreddits on this, report gains from using penis pumps. Okay. I haven't, used one in probably about a year, but I did use it for some time and I feel like it made erection stronger. I'm one of those okay, erectile quality is good, but anything I can do to make it very fucking firm, very, very, very firm. Like the girls, they like that a lot. So I think pumping could be very useful for that. I don't know about size though. Aron, if joints hurt after taking Testosterone Fedosia, could it be from estradiol being too low? Maybe, but both of those are helping you make more testosterone, which is going to convert to estrogen. So I don't think that's the issue. I don't. You got to look at that. Workout routine. Just focused on usually 1 or 2 muscle groups until complete failure. I'm the guy pacing around after each set because I'm tired and I'm kind of in agony. And that's how you get 3D delts. But yeah, I'm focusing, because that was the question in the beginning of the live stream. I'm focusing a lot on individual muscle groups when I go. And I'm not pushing the max amount of weight that I can push because I can't get enough reps in to actually do anything there. I can build some neurological strength there, but not, visible stuff. But I'm pushing I mean, I'm doing 15 to 20 reps on a lot of this stuff, but still heavy weights until complete fucking failure where it hurts me. Where I have to take breaks, not because I'm out of breath, because my muscles hurt or something hurts. That's really what I'm doing. Don't have a whole lot on agmatine sulfate. Just some guy. When you mentioned the negative effects of Adderall use, that result from therapeutic use or as well as recreational? Not as much recreational. It results from consistent Adderall use, whether therapeutic or recreational. You're welcome, brother. Good luck, man. Seriously, good luck with that situation. It'll clear on its own. Your elevated estradiol, if that's the issue, will clear on its own as testosterone goes down and whatever. But get on TRT, manage estradiol, you feel a lot better. Also, though, I forget what I was going to say. Bale schist. My TSH can remain between 2.6 and 4.1. Should I start T4 or not? Yeah, you want to talk to an endo about that. That is high. I think you want to weigh a bunch of different people's opinions and not mine. Relative to high TSH, I'm not as much of an expert in it as your endocrinologist would be. But if I were you, I would get 3 or 4 opinions from endocrinologists. Yeah, you want it because they're likely going to be, you'll have one that's like, maybe we should try this. The other might be like, all right, let's just jump on thyroid medication. So get a couple opinions and go from there. That's what I would say. Good question. If you guys got questions, post them, brothers. The first question that came through was, how do you get 3D delts? How do you get delts like that? That was just after the gym, so the pump was massive. They're kind of close right now, I guess. And it's to very, very heavily focus. Look, chicks love that look. They love big shoulders. It is the most primary thing that turns a girl on, that makes you attracted to them right away. Right away. Because if you look at a girl, what's the thing that is the most attractive, right? Boobs and the butt, right? You just want to look at if they have that. If they've got that down, great. Or a tall girl that's in great shape, that has great proportions, but isn't necessarily excessively inflated in those areas, but just has great portions, depending on what you like. That's usually what you look at and you get turned on. When girls see guys, it's the delts, man. It's the delts. It's your chest. It's your traps. It's your shoulders. So focus on the delts, boys. Focus on them hard. Don't have a whole lot of thoughts on HGH. Not taken it before. Vigorous Steve is a YouTuber who would be a better expert for that. Any recommendation for treating acne on TRT? It's mainly back acne. Yes. Dial Gold soap. Okay. It's the easiest thing. But what you want to do is you want to, so it's an antibacterial soap, right? So that's going to get into what is ultimately a lot of bacteria, causing your acne to not go away. It's just, salicylic acid won't do shit with TRT induced acne if it's really bad. It's not going to do anything, right? It's just a waste of money and time. But if you lather Dial Gold soap, just a bar soap, right? The solution is actually that simple. And it's not one of those things people go, use salicylic acid or use this thing. Usually doesn't work for hardcore acne on TRT. This is a savior. Dial Gold soap. It's like a yellow, it's a gold looking bar. You lather it all over the areas where there's acne. You let it sit there for 1.5 minutes in the shower. It will dry that shit out to the point where your skin is not dry, but the acne just cannot proliferate. And then eventually it goes away. That is the answer to that question. The show. Best nootropic stack for learning. I mean, usually racetams. If you're learning a new language or a new discipline like programming, learning guitar, you want to use racetams for that. They are the best facilitators of cholinergic pathway optimization, which is where you get a lot of learning done. It's you really heavily rely, your brain does, on that neurotransmitter, acetylcholine, in order to learn things. So, I'd be dosing 500 milligrams to a gram of aniracetam with a little bit of acetylcholine, and then go have at it. But there's plenty more. You could take 5 to 10 milligrams of PRL853 and then go learn. You need nothing else. Just PRL853, and you'll have a great time. like your brain will be much more optimized to learn in that particular case. In addition to that, look, I mean, if you run a cycle of cerebral lysin for like 20 days or so, your ability to take information in and encode it into memory is going to be a lot better. So, that'd be my answer. Stick with racetams, though. I mean, very, very epic. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate that. Alpha GPC 300, huperzine 200 micrograms. Yeah. Should I lower the GPC more? Far more. Far more. You know, with that dose of huperzine, I'd be running 50 to 100 milligrams of alpha GPC. Me personally, 50 milligrams, 75 milligrams. Thoughts on leg training, boosting tests, not have done too much volume and now taken to failure. I don't have any thoughts on that. I've never seen anything to substantiate that that's the case. Maybe it does, like to some extent, but again, like the things that people talk about boosting testosterone, once you've crossed over and you're on anabolic hormones, you know, you just realize most of it is bullshit, with the exception of taking 20 compounds that are all very targeted. Like my protocol before jumping on TRT was 20 different compounds, you know, ranging from pine pollen to vitamin D to fenugreek to L-carnitine L-tartrate, right, to macunapurines, to Fedosia agrestis, to Panax ginseng, to Sustanche, right? You have to have everything in the mix at the right doses for you so you don't get side effects. And then you're going to raise testosterone. But doing leg training, you know, nothing significant. Is ginkgo good for mood boosting? Yes, it elevates acetylcholine dopamine, maybe modifies some other neurotransmitters, optimizes brain blood flow. Ginkgo is actually a super impressive compound. It gets regarded as like, I don't know, like not that significant because it's like ginkgo and everybody knows about it. And it's like, you know, you find it in gas stations and stuff. Wait a minute. Somebody has a cat toy. Somebody has a cat toy in front of me. Somebody's just randomly has a cat toy. This is distracting. Get out of here. Okay. All right. Back to the questions. But yeah, ginkgo's pretty dope. Best sources. We don't talk about sources here. Don't ask again. No, I apologize. I'm not trying to be a dick, but I've said this 1,000 times, and I understand that you haven't watched these videos, maybe haven't seen me say it, but don't ask for sources live on the channel. You know, I think people generally do know that because you can't ask for sources on Reddit. You can't ask for sources like places. You have to, you know, you got to find people who know sources. Yes. So no sources here. You know, go to the Nootropics subreddit. You'll find sources. And if you need to PM people, do it. Thoughts on lion's mane, pretty epic for, I think there's some nerve growth factor or brain-derived neurotrophic factor enhancement. 2% of people with high doses, usually if other things are in their regimen, get sexual dysfunction from it. All right. Does sugar lower testosterone, assuming you already got enough vitamins and nutrients? I wouldn't think so. No. Nope. Sugar is an important part of a weightlifter's regimen. It should be very much. And a person who exercises, you know, if you're sedentary all day or most of the day and you do not go to the gym and or do cardio, sugar is not going to be good for you, generally speaking, right? Too much of it will cause, you know, issues related to insulin signaling and ultimately leading in the direction of diabetes, elevated blood sugar for too long. But if you work out, you need it. You know, you need it. I thrive on sugar, and guess where my hemoglobin A1C has been for 2 years, on the low end of the reference range. Never been a problem at all. Thoughts on Abilify? I think that's an antipsychotic, terrible fucking drug to take. Comes with long-term side effects. I would not touch it. Thoughts on lion's mane long-term? I think it's something to be cycled just in case it may cause some degree of sexual dysfunction down the line, which again, only happens in a very small percentage of people that, you know, his hormones are already in some sort of a weird place. And that just tips the scales for a very small amount of people. I never heard of Pagaclone for adult stammering. Interesting question though. Google account. Big brother. Carbs fuel the muscles and the brain. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah, I mean, if you're a heavy weightlifter, like, just try going without carbs. You know, you're just going to notice strength decrease and general endurance decrease. If you're a runner, You know, I mean, there's like runners that have tried to do keto, and initially it feels good. You're like, you know, you get a calorie deficit, you feel a little lighter. You start that metabolic adaptation to be using fatty acids and amino acids for energy as a substrate for cellular energy, but that is a massively inefficient. Those are inefficient substrates. They're backups for starvation. That's actually how it works. That's the process of starvation. You'll break down, you go catabolic, and you break down amino acids and fatty acids for energy. That's what, you know, keto like ultimately is. It's cellular starvation. People get away with it because they carb refeed. That can work. Refeed once a week, twice a week. Good. Otherwise, terrible. Oron, better to take tyrosine or L-Dopa? You mean Mucuna purines, because L-Dopa is a pharmaceutical drug. You wouldn't want to take that. Both Mucuna purines and tyrosine will increase dopamine, but tyrosine, I feel like, I don't know if I've ever substantiated this, but what it seems like is that tyrosine converts to noradrenaline faster, like, you know, and more than Mucuna purines does. You know, tyrosine can trigger that noradrenaline pathway, which then turns to adrenaline quicker and more aggressively than Mucuna purines. Too much tyrosine for me, and I'll be, you know, I won't feel very comfortable. Just enough, and it feels like Adderall. It's pretty crazy. Thank you, Ryan. Learned a lot from you. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate the fact that you're here. No thoughts on ibutamorin? It's again one of those compounds. Like, I am so, you know, like not exploratory when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Again, I've taken a little bit of Proviron. I really didn't respond well to it. I felt very weird on it. Largely just TRT, HCG, you know, regarding that stuff. Never fuss with any secretagogues, although I might, you know, as I move further into, you know, really focusing on, because it's the spring and summer, like my body, and really upregulating muscle building and all that kind of stuff. Thoughts on C-Max? I think it's great. I think it's you know, in my experience, it's potently dopaminergic, and it makes you, God, I daydreamed a lot on C-Max. Like, I would daydream a lot, which I found really interesting. It's kind of cool. I think C-Max is a very, very impressive neurologically enhancing peptide. Absolutely. You know, good to take. Is it as strong as, you know, some of the other stuff? Like, that's like, you know, seemingly very impressive or formidable, like cerebrolizin? No. You know, it is as strong as 9-ABC for dopamine? No. But, you know, it's its own very powerful, you know, neuroactive, neurogenic peptide that's really, really awesome. I think C-Max is pretty great. All right, guys, look, regarding coaching, if there's anyone in the chat or anyone that ends up watching this that has the budget and wants to work with me, I've got maybe 6 or 7 slots open for the spring and summer. After those 6 or 7 slots are booked, I got to close them down because I just can't give people the attention. I've literally brought on 22 people in the course of the last 3 weeks or a month or something. 22. So every single day, like I'm looking at protocol documents and making adjustments and getting on calls with people and dealing with guys on their TRT regimens or sexual dysfunction or neurogenic stuff every day. So there just becomes a point where I can't do them anymore. So if you've been thinking about getting on board with me on large scale coaching programs, you're going to have to do it as soon as possible, because these are going to have to literally go down from the website to the point where like I just am not going to be able to take any more people. And I am literally going to have to, there it is. I'm literally going to have to take these down. Okay. So I got a bunch of different packages ranging from 90-day one-on-one hands-on program to 180-day hands-on one-on-one hands-on program to a 365-day for those of you that have the budget and money isn't an option or like it isn't a thing, but you need optimization for a year. Like, we'll fix everything. And I would ideally like a year with everybody, minimally 3 months, you know, 6 months for the real hardcore stuff and a year for massive, massive change. BookMeLiveCortex.com, because these programs are going to literally not be purchasable on the website once they're fully booked, because I don't have the time to deal with 50 people. Like, my limit is just before that, and I'm getting very close to that right now. All right, so either 180-day program or 90-day program, you got to book these as soon as you can, because I got to take them down soon, because I am busier this year than I have ever been in any year ever. I'm thankful for it. But what it means is that I am not going to be able to keep those open for very long. All right, boys, I'm going to end the stream. This has been a great stream with a lot of great questions. I appreciate the fact that on Saturday morning, you guys are up and about and here with us asking questions, taking part in this whole thing. Content coming Monday, so look forward to that. I just endless, bro. I got all kinds of cool topics to talk about. New stuff, new compounds, people's responses to things. Obviously, TRT. Man, there's just so much to talk about. So make sure you're subbed to the channel. You have notifications on to get notified of everything that comes out of here. There are discounts on both of our nootropic stacks, and those codes are in the description of this video. So if you want powerful stacks that'll turn your brain on, there's no better stack than this, okay? There really is no better stack than Torque. You're not going to want to run out of it, okay? Imagine being able to take 2 capsules and have your brain turn on for like 6 hours. It's very, very potent. Can't think of anything else. So I hope you guys have a great day. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And I'll talk to you more than likely on Monday.